Welcome back to the second episode of this season. Today, I've got a very special guest. I think a lot of people that are listening are going to know who this guest is. And it's somebody I've been following for a while. I've been watching his content and, paying attention to what he does on Twitter. I'd like to introduce Omar Agag. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, very happy to have you on today. But you know what, let's just get straight into it. So I've been I've been following you for a while and I have seen, some of your other videos doing it with other guests. And a lot of the time I see you talking about, all your strategies and how to trade Euro USD and whatnot. But I haven't really seen anything on how you actually got into trading. And yeah, let's just start with that. How did you, when did you start trading? How did you get into it?
Yeah, man. So I actually started my journeys with trading in general started in 20 towards the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. Pretty much like I was doing a major for physical therapy, so I was wanting to become a physical therapist. Then I kind of had like that light bulb moment, like, all right, so I have to finish this 4 year degree. I have to do another 3 years, and then and the cost of it was like over like $100,000 for like the 3 years of doctorates after that. And then the average salary starting was around like 80 grand, right? Obviously, like physical therapists can make a lot more money when they open up their own clinics after they have like, a couple years of experience and like build a book of business. But then I'm like, you know what? That's the same route as like just any entrepreneur. So I was like, all right, that kind of turned me off. So I just dropped out towards the end of 2016. And I kind of just want to see, all right, am I going to change my major? Am I gonna what am I gonna do? And then in 2017, one of my friends who was actually trading stocks, he was my roommate. He's the one who introduced me to like the whole idea of trading, and that's kind of where everything began. Once he kind of showed me that there was a route to make money online like that, right? I was always interested, and that's when I went down the rabbit hole. Start off with stocks, surprisingly enough, I actually became profitable trading equities with a very specific strategy that I had like learned fairly quick. It didn't take too long. It took about maybe like 4 months or so compared to like how long it took me with Forex. But then I wanted to scale it up a little bit because here in the States, we actually have to have a $25,000 account just to day trade, right? So then that was kind of a turn off. And you were only limited to 3 day trades per week if you don't have a $25,000 account. And that's when one of my friends in 2018, the summer of 2018, around July, introduced me to Forex. And that's kind of where my journey with FX pretty much began, man. Like 2018, the summer of 2018, I was introduced to Forex. He brought up to me like, hey, like if you're doing well with stocks, but you want to scale it up, why not just go to FX? Because you have higher margins. You don't need to fund an account too much because of the margin requirements, because of the margin that is like, that these brokers have 1 to 500. And you can scale up a lot faster. So that was something of interest. And that's when my Forex journey pretty much began, man. 2018, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, that's an interesting switch. The physical therapy stuff is quite interesting. I'm super into that whole, fitness side and learning about those things as well.
Yeah.
Probably not as much as you, considering you're gonna do, a whole degree on it. But it's so coming over to Forex. So when you said you needed a $25,000 account, is that for equities?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a something called a PDT rule, which is a patent day trader rule.
Yep.
So in order for you to execute more than 3 day trades per week, you needed to have 25 grand in your account. So that was like the major turnoff. And honestly, even now to this day, a lot of people like who are trading equities, they always talk about how they kind of hate that rule and stuff like that. Because I mean, listen, man, $25,000, especially if someone who's like, maybe coming out of college or who's even in college, they might not have that 25 grand to fund an account. And even some people like, they don't want to fund an account 25 grand because if that's all they have, like, do you really want to put into an account where you could possibly lose it all? You know what I mean? To the market. So that was always a turn off. There was a prop firm, surprisingly enough, that I was trading with. They were
Mm.
called Trade. It's very similar to the prop firms that we have now, but the only difference was there was no evaluations. Like you paid for an account, you got it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You got education, you got a chat room, and you got a funded account. And honestly, I think that was very, I think, important that I got all of that for one funded account. Like you get like a $14,000 account, $700 equity drawdown for like $500 $500, and it came with a chat room. and it came with education. So that was kind of like I think that program honestly really helped me to become profitable off the gate because like you were there with other traders who had experience. You were
Yeah.
there, you had an account that you could trade and withdraw every month. And you could obviously you obviously had the video courses as well, so you can kind of learn. So yeah, man, that was actually a really good deal now that I think about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite cool. With I guess these accounts in general, prop firms and whatnot, they make it very accessible for, I guess, you could say the average person to start trading because, like you said, $25,000, that's quite a large amount. And I guess I don't know about you, but most of the people around me trying to trade around my age, they're quite young, and most of them are still in school, still in, university, college, and trying to save up 25,000, especially if you're listening and you're from London, that's near enough impossible these days. So yeah, I'm quite grateful, all these prop firms being here, this opportunity being on the table. As long as you kind of get that skill set, it's very easy to now, actually make use of it and make decent money. But
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. And it's funny because I didn't even like when I started trading forex back in 2018. I legit didn't even start trading prop firms until this year. I tried it once last year. I filled a couple accounts with like FTMO last year. I had
yeah,
one account with FTMO, withdrew like maybe a couple $1,000, then blew that one. Then I finally got another one with funding talent, but they obviously went under, and I never got my first payout with them, unfortunately. But I didn't even, it's crazy. I legit did not even know about funding programs until like I didn't really get super, super into them until this year. But
yeah,
I heard they've been around since like 2018, 2019 now. So yeah, I mean, I wish I knew. I would have been trying that
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
sooner.
So do you think that switch over, right? So of course you're trading personal funds to start with. So do you think that switch over to trading with these prop firms was difficult or easier? How was that for you?
Well, honestly, man, it's weird because like so the way I kind of approached it, right? I had a really big December of last year in 2021.
Yeah,
So I had a really big month in December. I had a really big month in January, but it was like a lot of stress because like it is your own capital at the end of the day. Even when because some people say, oh yeah, well once let's say you flip an account from like $10,000 to let's say $25,000, right? And people will be like, oh yeah, you just take out your principal and then you have 15 grand and it's like house money. But I don't have that mentality. Like the money that I earn from the market, I view it as my money. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it was just stressful. And plus, I'm somewhat high risk. I'm not like I've seen people way more high risk than me, but it was just a little bit stressful. Trying to trade that. So in February, that's when I kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna pay for a 300K FTMO. So I'm gonna buy a 100K account and a 200K account, put them on a trade copy, and let's do it. So I did pass that challenge right away.
mm,
But I will be honest, like I did have to because I did I don't like you followed me on Twitter for a while, so I publicly stated when I lost the account,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
I got the max allocation like about a month after. And one thing that I really learned is like sometimes like the way I used to trade before was kind of more like I don't like kind of like I don't know if traders who kind of scale into levels and then as they see more confirmation they'll keep adding and
yeah,
then
yeah,
like if they get a big move that they're looking for, you know what I mean, it's going to play out. That was kind of my approach, right? Because again, I used like there's some people who care about like these sniper entries and all this stuff, but the way I kind of viewed it is like how many moves are you going to miss when you have all these sniper entries, or
yeah,
let's say you put a stop loss in too tight, you're going to miss a lot of moves and you're going to take a lot of unnecessary losses. And now that was my reality, right? Because whenever I used to trade with a very tight stop loss or even just a stop loss in general, right? Price can hit like let's say a 4 hour zone multiple times. And like let's say if you got in an M15 entry, then you might actually get stopped out. And then price is still like the structure, nothing's changed, and then you get the move that you're looking for a day later. So
yeah,
I had to adjust in the sense of like, all right, I have to really kind of hone in on like my entries because scaling in works and stuff like that. But the problem with like because you have like a max amount that you can't lose per day,
yeah,
even if you get more profits throughout the account, the funded account, you know, you still have to be very diligent with your risk. So that's one thing that I kind of learned. That's why like it was a little bit of a transition, but again, like because I already had the concepts and I've already like kind of learned a lot of the stuff in terms of like confirmation entries, I just had to actually apply it and just be okay with the cons that I might get stopped out of a trade and it might work out. later on. But again, I can always just re-enter. You know what I mean? So it was a little bit of an adjustment period because of the risk parameters and the way I was previously trading. So, but outside of that, I don't think it's too. Outside of that, I think that most people can get funded, to be honest, because you can. Oh, even if you want that scaling approach, you can just lower your lot size and just make sure that okay, if I'm playing within like let's say a 50 pip range, right, and let's say my max drawdown for the day is $5,000, I can't get in more than like 10 lots. Like if I'm playing with 10 lots total on scaling in a 50 pip range, I might have to make sure that I don't get any like my max lots is going to be 7 lots in that area. So yeah, I mean, outside of that, I think yeah, man, I think anyone could honestly get funded if they have the skill set, to be honest. And
Yeah.
it's just whether or not they want to go that route.
Definitely. You do have to, well, depending on how you trade, you're gonna have to make some changes to your system and kind of adapt to the rules, especially because some of the prop firms, they do have, even though there's slight differences, they have differences in how much you can lose or your equity drawdown and things like that. And like you said, I think on personal accounts, most people do risk more. So on funded accounts, I see most people risk along the lines of 0.5 or 1% on trades. But on
Yeah.
personal accounts, most people, they're doing 2, 3, sometimes even 4, 5%. So making that adjustment and coming over and you know, it's difficult, but it's genuinely worth it. It's one of those changes that if you stick to it for a bit and get consistent, it's really gonna pay off. But so you're speaking about the concepts that you use, right? And I know that some of your learnings come from ICT, Inner Circle Trader, if you guys don't know who that is. So how did you actually first find ICT? Because I think you said you got into Forex in 2018 and well, I wasn't trading back then. Um, but I don't think he was as well known and stuff. So how did you come by him?
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely. I kind of realized that too. Like looking back at after that, after you saying that, yeah, I don't think he was still big in 2018, but like now it's like you know, like now it's a lot. He's
Yeah.
definitely getting a lot more notoriety. But yeah, the way I kind of learned, so like the friend who put me onto Forex, right? This was the summer of 2018. So like around July, that's when I kind of like learned basic technicals, went to baby pips, and then I actually was in a group chat with him and a bunch of other people who've been trading for a while, and they had a bunch of courses that they were all sharing. So I remember I first learned from Steve Morrow. So they had a Steve Morrow, his Beat the Market Maker boot camp. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he had like a boot camp. It was like about 20 hours long.
Mm.
And that was my first introduction to like market makers, smart money concepts, so to speak, because he would talk like he had a lot of the similar concepts where he used in his system, whereas like a lot of like the Asian range, a lot of kill zones, a lot of like liquidity pools, stuff like that. But with Steve Morrow, right? I was like, are you familiar with Steve Morrow? I just want to know like.
Nah, nah. Is he American?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not even sure to be honest. I
Yeah.
just remember like I just one of my friends gave me his boot camp and stuff like that because he had already purchased it and he just gave it to me like he had like the recording, so he just gave it to me. But essentially, yeah, like dude, he was just trading like he was trading with a lot of indicators as well, like with
Mm.
divergence, but he was also using some smart money concepts. So nonetheless, that's kind of who the first person I was like exposed to. And like I had a really good like I really liked his divergence system because it was like a reversal type strategy. And I always liked reversals back then. And yeah, man, I was actually doing pretty surprisingly again, like because I was like locking in. It was like a 20-hour boot camp, was watching it like throughout every single weekend whenever I had the chance, even throughout the week. So I was really like going ham with it. And then the interesting part about that, like I remember I had flipped an account from $2,000 to 6,000 in like about a 2.5 week period. Obviously, I wasn't using like that great of risk management, but again, I was just confident with his type of style of trading that it just really resonated with me. And then obviously, I kind of realized like, you know what, there got to be more to the markets because the way he preaches it is like the markets moves in three. Essentially, like I now looking back at it, it was more like a sell model, buy model,
Yeah.
where ICT kind of teaches it, but he kind of had his like own little spin to it. But I knew that like when he was saying that, right? And then you would look at a chart and then you see that there was like a market that was trending for like weeks or months. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, clearly the market doesn't just move in threes. So I
Yeah.
want to get a little bit more, I want to get a little bit more sophisticated with my trading. And that's what one of my friends in the group chat who was like, oh yeah, like you should check out ICT then, because that guy he uses some of his concepts. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna check out ICT. He opened up an enrollment in September, and honestly, I didn't even know that much about ICT at the time, but I was already sold on like, all right, well, if this guy Steve Morrow uses some of his concepts, it was only 150 a month. Yeah, for 12 months, but again, 150 per month for me at the time wasn't really nothing too. It wasn't like that much of a financial commitment. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Worst case scenario, I could just drop off if I don't really like the guy's teachings. And yeah, and he had a lot of YouTube videos. I skimmed through a couple of them, but they were kind of scattered. So I was like, you know what? I like something a little bit more structured. And so yeah, I just joined the mentorship in 2018. And yeah, I actually completed the full 12 months as well.
Yeah, that's quite cool. So, of course, I haven't been through all of his, 12-month content. It is out there on the internet now, but
Yeah, yeah.
so with that, right, with his mentorship, do you think that if kind of someone brand new or someone that knows the basics at least was to take that mentorship, they'd be able to become a profitable trader from that?
Well, yeah, like, so this is the thing, right? Profitability is ultimately going to come down to the individual because, and this is one thing ICT talks about too, and honestly, I couldn't agree more with him. Like, where he talks about he is not going to essentially be responsible for someone being profitable, and he's not going to be responsible for anyone being not profitable,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, we all know it's like psychology, right? Because at the end of the day, you could be a perfectionist, you could have some really good skill in terms of identifying when the market is going to move. You can be perfect at all of that, right? But then if you can't execute well or you can't stick to your plan, it's honestly not going to matter how well versed you are in his concepts. But I do think that anyone who goes through a 12-month mentorship, I don't think it need to be that long. Again, like that's not a dig at him. Like
yeah,
I'm like it's genuinely not. It's just my personal experience, right? And people could disagree, it's fine. But I just personally think that the 12 months wasn't necessarily necessary for the way I at least trade. Because the way I trade, I feel like a lot of the concepts that I've used from him could have been taught in probably a month, 2 months. And then let's say, a 12-month mentorship where he does like because he does commentaries where he talks about like, he'll break down charts, in while the market is trading in the sense of like, all right, well, I think the market's going to go from here to here.
yeah,
That was the most insightful part, in my opinion, of the 12 months because you got to see him kind of implementing the stuff in action. And then you kind of pick and choose, okay, what is the type of style that I want to implement from the concepts. But the fact that he was showing you week in, week out, like, okay, I think the move is like, the euro, for example, is gonna, like, I'm watching this level and I want to see this at this level. Like that type of commentary really, really helped. So yeah, I think I don't think he does it anymore, but I think it was well worth it. I mean, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, all that 12 months, even though if I think the education part could have been compacted into a smaller amount, right? That's just my
yeah,
opinion. Nonetheless, the 12 months of him actually like getting the commentary insight, that was well worth it for sure. And I think that helps a lot of traders. And the thing is, right, if anyone's listening to this, like they have to kind of realize too, a lot of people, because I was in the mentorship with a few other friends, and like, dude, they were never watching the weekly commentaries. And it wasn't even like the weekly commentaries were like signals or like but it was the application and the lessons inside the weekly commentaries that helped me pick up on specific things. Like, and it's just very like when people talk about experience, right?
yeah,
You had someone with over 20 years of experience in ICT that was giving you his insight in the sense of not even just like I didn't even care about like, oh, where he thought the market was going. But inside of that, he would be talking about, okay, you want to see this at this level because of X reason, right? And then when you kind of constantly hear that, right, over a 12-month period, and I was watching those videos very diligently because there was always like notes that I could have taken from that. I think that was the most invaluable experience of the mentorship personally. Like the education could have been probably summarized in like maybe, a couple months, right? But
yeah,
from what I personally use, right? Because I don't use all the stuff that he talks about in the mentorship, but in the sense of like, the weekly commentaries, I think within a 12 months period and you kind of like seeing his insight for a whole year, I think that was by far the most invaluable part of the mentorship for sure. So I
yeah,
think anyone could become profitable ultimately. Yeah, like I think anyone could be profitable going through that mentorship. I think also people could be profitable going through other mentorships, going through, yeah, even some people that I know who trade that guy Steve Morrow still, even to this day, they're doing really, really well. So yeah,
yeah.
I think with ICT, yeah, it's also no different. I think people could also definitely be profitable within that 12-month period.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You're right. especially profitability itself, like you said, it does, come down to psychology. You can have all the technical knowledge, all these concepts, and you can put them together. But if you don't have the psychology to, manage trades and whatnot, and of course, I have a few students now, and when I say this to them, because most of them are beginners and they're starting out, I don't think anybody honestly realizes how much or like how big psychology is. At the start, everyone thinks, okay, if I learn what order blocks are, if I learn this, that, I'm going to be able to use it and make money. But after you've learned everything and now you've kind of understood the concepts, that's when you realize, like, whoa, like half of it is really a mental game and trying to like avoid trading. I think I saw you tweet about this recently as well, like knowing when not to trade. And that's such a big thing because I feel like most new traders or people getting into Forex, because we're here to make money, they're quite eager to essentially get a trade in. And I was like that as well, every day jump on the charts. And there's now I understand the days when I shouldn't trade. But initially, before I knew that, every day I had to like somehow get a trade in and try and force something on the charts, even though nothing clear was there. And yeah, it is a bit of an internal struggle. But
100%, man. And just to speak on that too, real quick,
mm,
like this is the thing about that as well. It's because I think in society, right, we're kind of conditioned, like you kind of have to work for your money and stuff like that. And even with a business, right? Let's say you run a business. Let's say you run an e-commerce store, or even an online business, not even a brick and mortar. The reality is this: the more work you technically put in terms of like, all right, I'm gonna put in work today. I'm gonna like, do run these ads. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna speak with the VA. It's like the more time you kind of put in, right? And the more leverage you can get from other people for your business, the more money you typically make, right? But with trading, it's like a paradigm shift that people have to kind of understand because it's like, dude, there's only for me at least, right? I mean, for scalpers, they're gonna have trades every single day, right? But like for someone who's looking for like a bigger picture type of move, right? Depending on like the time frame that you're trading, you're not gonna get that many great trades. You're gonna get trades, but you're not gonna have that many great trades throughout the week. You might only have like, two or three that might set up really, really perfectly for what you want to do. And I think it's that paradigm shift that people have to understand with trading. It's the amount of like time, the amount of work you have in trading in the sense of actually trading. That's not the work, quote unquote. All the work is like the back testing, the journaling, and I think if people can have that mindset shift of like, all right, the work in trading is just, back testing, journaling my trades, you know what I mean? And then the execution part is all like the amount of quote unquote work you put in execution, right? That's not important. The execution is important, but like me executing every single day is not important because, again, my trade setup, again, everyone's different, but like let's just say the average person only finds like three trades, three really great trades, then I think they just have to have that paradigm shift that, hey man, listen, at the end of the day, not every single day is going to have a great opportunity, and I'm just going to maximize when those opportunities come in. And in the meantime, I'm going to journal, I'm going to back test, I'm going to just, watch trading videos to get better. And I think if that paradigm shift happens, it's going to be a lot easier to accept the fact that, like, okay, I actually don't have to do that much when it comes to the actual execution part.
yeah, yeah. So even so going back to ICT, I guess I had his mentorship, right? The files and stuff. And that's
Yeah.
because I only started trading end of last year. And they're everywhere. And I started watching them and I remember just watching the first few videos and I was so lost. And I was just sitting there thinking, this is about 28 gigabytes or something crazy of videos. I was sitting there thinking,
Yeah.
like, working through all of this, and this is crazy. So my mentor, he's called Omar as well, and
Yeah.
he's also ICT chartered. And I came across him, and he was just coming, into the Twitter scene. He wasn't really like a, on social media sort of person, but he was, I'm starting a mentorship. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get in this guy's mentorship, and yeah, so I've been learning from him since from early this year. But another thing that you guys have in common is that you both, I think your favorite pairs are Euro USD, right? And
Yeah.
talk me through that because even me learning off of him and seeing, all the analysis on DXY and Euro USD most of the time, that's what I've adapted as well. And now that is essentially the pair that I'm always trading or sometimes GU. So how, of course, you've been trading for a longer time. So, and you always do speak about this, sticking to like one pair or at least a couple pairs and reducing how much you trade. So, how did you kind of come down to the decision that Euro USD is that pair for you?
You know what it is, man? Like it's funny because like I always noticed a trend that when I would get into drawdown, and I would need to lock in to get out of a drawdown, I would always stick to euro. You know, even from like when I first started trading, probably like because ICT, like also within the mentorship, he always focused on just EU and GU. For me, I didn't personally like GU that much just because like it was like pretty volatile, and I'm someone who's kind of
Yeah,
like chill and calm, so I don't like to deal with too much volatility because I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to feel like, oh shit, this market is moving like too fast. And so, but Euro is like that perfect. When Euro is like moving, it's that perfect synergy where it's calm in the sense of like, all right, I can kind of wait for my entries. I'm not going to be like, I don't feel rushed. You know what I mean? In a volatile market, you might have to have a quicker decision making process, right? But I just like Euros. It just, I don't know. It might also just be like through experience that because I've been trading it since 2018, that's the pair I'm by far the most comfortable in. And again, like when it comes to, and some people are, I've seen like a lot of people talk about, well, yeah, if you have multiple pairs, you can just choose the best opportunity of those pairs. And I 100% agree with that, right? But the reality is this, man. It's also dependent on your personality. I can get distracted pretty easily, you know what I mean? So I
yeah,
don't want to be flipping through five different charts, six different charts, you know what I mean, analyzing the 4 hour daily, go down to looking for an entry on the M15. Like it's just too much. But also like the fact that but this is also the reality. If you do trade one pair, you can't be a swing trader, right? Like if you're a swing trader, you're definitely gonna have to add multiple pairs. But if you're an intraday trader and you're comfortable, quote unquote, scalping, then I think there's no issue with watching one pair because if Euro is, let's say, it's a slow day, or let's just say it's been going through a slow couple of weeks where it's just consolidating on the higher time frame, I'm very comfortable scalping it, right? I'm very comfortable looking
yeah,
for M5 entries, M15, and then work within, like, let's say, a 30-minute or 1 hour framework. So it's not, if you're comfortable like being on all different time frames on one pair and you can trade all different time frames on one pair, I think that's very beneficial because then your focus is going to be so locked in that again, you can instead of constantly trying to find something, you're just kind of sitting there waiting. And then when the opportunity shows itself, you're not flipping through other charts and missing that opportunity that's presenting itself right in front of you. So I think, yeah, but going back to like Euro, I think it's just because I've been trading it since 2018 that it's just the pair I'm most comfortable with. And also like whenever I flipped accounts in the past, it's always been with Euro. Like I would always wait for a good potential move on a 4 hour time frame, for example, and I would be able to like gain a lot of positions. And if that 4 hour move transpires, I would typically have like be able to flip accounts. And I think just the success I've had with Euro just made me more comfortable with it. Plus, it's by far the best performing pair that I personally have had. Bitcoin is one of those pairs that I've kind of I'm on and off with as well. I do pretty well with Bitcoin, but again, Bitcoin is a little bit volatile and it consolidates a lot sometimes. So yeah, so that's why I primarily just focus on Euro, to be honest.
yeah. I think no, you're definitely right because some of the stuff you're saying does resonate with me. I've experimented with, the indices and stuff. I remember at first I tried to trade US 30 and beforehand I'd only traded Euro USD and some other Forex pairs. And the volatility difference was crazy to me. Like I couldn't handle it. And it was,
Yeah.
there's massive wicks. And especially when there's the NYSE Open. So for us, that's 2:30 p.m. I think for you guys, that's 9:30. And the
Yeah.
price action in that first half an hour, I didn't know that, that's when the exchange opens in New York when I first started. I just remember every time I just realizing around this time, around 2:30, 3 p.m., there's very crazy price action. And it used to just throw me off so much. So even me now, I just stick to Euro USD. You're right, it is quite a calm pair and it does offer a lot over time. And again, with the swing trading and stuff, of course, you'll need more pairs. But I think as general in traders, if you have a lot of pairs on your watch list, depending on how your personality is, right? Because everyone's different, it can potentially lead to a bit of FOMO, or at least that's how it was for me. And having so many charts and so many pairs, it kind of became like I don't want to miss an opportunity on all of them. But now it's like, if I've got just Euro USD, I can concentrate and not miss any opportunities on EuroUSD if, they line up with whatever I'm looking for. So yeah, even me, it's the same thing. I just like, sticking to the one, maybe two pairs and just keeping at it because when you trade intraday, that is all you need. Even one trade a day or a couple trades a week, really, like, it's enough. But yeah,
I
so
couldn't, yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, man. It's all about the personality because again, if you're someone who likes volatile pairs, you can just go trade indices, you could trade GBP, you could trade gold, you know what I mean? Whatever
yeah,
fits your personality. But being able to be locked in is something that's so underrated because again, if you're flipping through so many different charts, how focused are you really gonna be if you're trying to execute on a lower time frame? That's just my personal opinion, you know.
yeah, yeah. So okay, cool. So you have your own academy now, train and trade, and you have a YouTube channel. So I think you've been making YouTube videos for around 3, 4 months. I've seen some of them, especially the NY Impulse OT video. The second I learned that, that made something major click for me, and that was a really good video. So in terms of making, YouTube videos, and then from there, well, I'm not even sure which one came first, but your Train and Trade Academy. How did you come by that idea or decide to pursue that?
Yeah, so no, so yeah, the YouTube came first. Yeah, it's about I think it's about 3 months old if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I just started the YouTube channel because I've always learned that YouTube could be a good source of income if you're consistent with it. So I was like, you know what? I feel like I have a decent. I don't know. I just felt like you know what I'm good. I can make. I'm good at making content in the
Yeah,
sense of like trading content. So and I feel like I explain things fairly well. So let me just go ahead and make it this YouTube channel and try to grow the channel. And then because again with YouTube you can make a good amount of money per month if you get to that point where like you're getting hundreds of thousands of views. Like I remember I don't know if you know Swaggy C or if I don't know if you're familiar with him,
yeah,
but he
yeah,
was yeah, so he was on the podcast with that guy Alex, and he was talking about how when he was consistent with YouTube, right, and he's at like the point where he's like getting like a couple 100,000 views. When he was consistent at it back in 2020 or so, he was making 50, $60,000 a month off of just YouTube, and I'm like, all right, that would be a great source of income. I can help people out for free. Plus, I enjoy like making trading content anyways because I usually record videos for myself like kind of in a way to teach myself. Again, I don't know how to explain it, but like sometimes I'll sit, record a video of like of breaking down a specific trade, and then just rewatch it later, like privately, right? It wasn't uploaded on YouTube or anything like. But I was like, all right, I might as well just upload these videos, and it doesn't even take too much time to honestly create. So I'm like, all right, let me grow the YouTube, try to maybe possibly turn it into some sort of revenue stream in the future, and let's see what goes on with it. And then with the mentorship with the academy, honestly, like, dude, so many people were hitting me up on Instagram, Twitter, even like in the YouTube comments and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, let me just create something because as any like smart entrepreneur would do, if there's a demand for something, you know what I mean? Then it's best to kind of go
yeah,
like to pursue that, especially because I personally listen. I know there's other mentors out there who probably just do it for the money, but the reality is this, like I genuinely like to connect with people. That's why I really resonated with
yeah,
Twitter, and that's why I don't even really post on Instagram like that because I like connecting with traders. I like talking with other traders. And I feel like I have a decent gift in terms of teaching as well. And I don't know, I just felt like because I was with all the transparency I posted and stuff like that on Twitter, like with the withdrawals, with accounts that I've gotten with FTMO, my Forex funds, the funded trader, all these funded accounts, and the withdrawals. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna open up a mentorship in terms of the academy, and I didn't even price it that high either. It was like a one-time fee because again, I don't believe in like a subscription fee per se. Because again, yeah, because like you don't want to put pressure on the students to necessarily have to make a payment every single month, right? If you're doing signals, that's different because you're actively doing something. But like if it's pre-recorded content, and you have a chat room and you just chat with everyone, just have them pay one-time fee. And yeah, it was only like 150 when I first launched, and then 200 when I saw the second launch. And yeah, it's only open every few months or so now. Because honestly, I don't want to deal with like too many people, so that's why I'm keeping it a little bit like that. But the academy was honestly started because I had so much interest that of people hitting me up. So I'm like, all right, this would be another source of income, and I could also help a lot of people. You know what I mean? Have a private group where I can interact with people, do webinars, and again, the more you quote unquote like teach someone, right, or like the more that you talk about trading your specific style, right? And your setups, I feel like the more ingrained it becomes in your mind as well. So it's kind of like a value exchange as well, where I'm also getting the, by constantly talking about the way I trade and constantly talking about the setups I trade, I
Yep.
just felt like it ultimately, is going to help me as well to get better at trading because now it's like, all right, well, you know, it just ingrains it in your mind that much more when you're constantly repeating those concepts.
Yeah. There's a very interesting podcast. I always mention this. I'll probably mention it in all my episodes, but Huberman Lab, and he speaks about. So he talks about neuroscience and everything in the body. He's got a bunch of episodes, and one of his episodes is on the science of learning and teaching, and he mentions that it's literally proven when you teach things to other people, you also learn it better, and like you're saying, it gets ingrained in your mind even better. You begin to understand the concepts or potentially just consolidate them and just understand them. And I think, yeah, it's pretty similar for me because of course I've got a YouTube channel as well and I teach. And I think teaching people, especially people that want to learn, it is, I wouldn't necessarily say fun, but it's kind of like a satisfying feeling, especially when they're serious and they're eager to learn. And another thing you mentioned with, you posting all those accounts you got and being very transparent, I think that attracted people to what you do. Because before, certain people on Twitter, there weren't any people really posting their results or, this is how much I'm making live funds or, I'm getting
Yeah.
this account. So now there's a handful of people that do it. And I think once the majority of people around us realize, okay, this person's showing proof, but most of these people aren't. So the people that are showing proof and they can show they're profitable traders instantly, everybody wants to work with them and learn from them. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
But
and
like,
the transparency. Yeah, my bad. Didn't mean to cut you off, but it
no,
just
yeah, go on.
yeah, because the thing about transparency too is like you want your whoever joins to have the full confidence. I'm learning from someone who's actually able to implement this stuff.
Yeah,
Because how many times have we? And again, I went through this with ICT because back then ICT didn't really trade. He imposed any like dude, and it's funny because like I'm not saying he can't trade, by the way, because I know people like to misconstrue
yeah,
things, but I just had no evidence of that at the time. He's proven it since. I think like he with the trading view account, even if it was demo, but the fact that he was still able to like show it, and I think he even someone told me that on I'm not like don't quote me on this, but they said he was trading a live account on like a futures broker. I'm not sure honestly about that because I haven't seen that video. But nonetheless, like I'm not here to argue whether or not he was making money or not, or he can trade or not. I believe he can, but it's just I didn't even know whether or not at the time when I was in the mentorship, like, is this guy even making money? And then you hear these people on Twitter saying he blew up an account before, he never enters like all these like competitions he says he's gonna do. And in the back of my mind, when you're as a struggling trader, you're learning from someone, you're kind of like, damn, like is this guy
yeah,
like kind of like finessing me? Is this guy kind of like you know what I mean? Like, because you don't know, like when especially when you're struggling as a trader. So I
yeah,
think it's just important too, like in terms of transparency. I mean, it's great marketing. I'm not gonna act like it's not a great marketing tool,
mm,
but it's also it gives the people who invest their time and money with you. It's just like, all right, this guy is actually has results that I can be confident that he's implementing the stuff that he's using. You know what I mean? Because no one can
yeah,
dispute results at the end of the day. And I think that's just a great way to kind of market somewhat like if someone posts results consistently throughout like months on end, right? And then they're showing people like and then that's the thing. I think my public Telegram was also something that helped because I was posting all my trade analysis and ideas for free on there. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
every now and then I'll post like intraday trades as well.
mm,
So I think it was a combination of both. And I think that people should like, I think people out there who want to start something, I don't think it's necessarily bad, right? But
yeah,
just be transparent with people, man. Even if you blow an account, be transparent. When I lost my 300K account with FTMO and I posted about it, right? I
yeah,
could like I was a little bit like, ah, damn, should I even post this? But then I'm like, you know what? Like, yeah, because I know I'm gonna get it back anyways. I'm that confident in myself that I know I can pass these challenges. So let me just post it. You know what I mean? I make good money from it anyways. So yeah, and I'm telling you, man, I feel like people just want that transparency because they want the real deal. So anyone who's out there, man, who may be listening to this, who's thinking about maybe starting something, I mean, yeah, I generally think that if you just post via transparently, the wins, the losses, and you can show people that you're really doing it, you're gonna grow a following, especially on Twitter, fairly
yeah.
quickly. Like, and what was the book that you were recommended, by the way? I was looking up on Google just now. Is it by
It's a
Doug
n
McPhee?
no, no, it's a podcast called Huberman Lab. So he just yeah, it's just all like neuroscience and all of those sort of topics. It's very interesting. I think you'd like it, considering you said you wanted to be a physiotherapist.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna check that out. That's what I was like. Wait, I'm sorry. You said what was the
I'll
guy's name?
Huberman. I'll send you a link for it. I'll send you a link on Twitter.
Oh, okay, yeah, perfect, perfect. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think do you know what it is? There's less if we take trading as a whole, as a general, this all this forex, crypto, and so forth. Before people like us were even trading, um, let's say a decade back or so, I think it's got a very bad name attached to it. There's people saying, "Come join my trading academy. I drive a Lamborghini. I live in Dubai." All of that stuff, right? And I think it's very necessary that there are people who kind of show the reality of trading. That even if you've been trading a few years, you can still blow an account. But
100.
you make it back. Everyone goes through bad phases. You might have a bad week. You even have a bad month. So I think when I do see certain traders, and usually these are the ones with the most followers, constantly showing, every month is a good month, every month they made money. It's just annoying to see because that's the trap people fall into because that's what like the average person wants to do. They want to make money every day. They want to make a lot of money. So when they see someone supposedly doing that, they instantly follow those people, not realizing what the reality actually is. And yeah, it's just quite sad to see.
It is, bro, and it's disgusting because, and this is the thing, right? Like, I've been trading for like with just forex, right? About like 4 years now, and
Yeah,
like, dude, I've seen it's crazy because, like you said, it's unfortunate that that's what gets the most people to buy what they're selling. Like I've seen so many traders over the years get caught faking their results via, like, let's say if they had like a rented MT4 server,
yeah,
or let's just say they got caught trading a demo account. And there was just so many ways I saw people got caught, but because their following was so big, because they did that luxury lifestyle branding, and not even just forex, like even like people that I follow in options who've gotten caught stealing signals, and like dude, like it's crazy, and people still buy these people's stuff, and it kind of goes to show it's just it's very very unfortunate, man. Because these people, again, there's nothing wrong with selling anything, but if you're faking a lot of stuff, like, even, all right,
yeah,
whatever, lifestyle marketing is one thing, but if you are like faking your actual trading results, that's just, I don't know. I just feel like that's extremely shady, and that's kind of just, it's messed up, man. Because then you're teaching someone stuff that you're not even implementing, and then it becomes like a rabbit. It becomes like this, like this rabbit hole where that person is now messed up because they're learning stuff that may not really work, and then that person is like, and has a bad taste in their mouth, and then it just kind of messes up a lot of people because they're going to be learning a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily work that well, and
yeah.
especially if that person is not even implementing it. It's just very very unfortunate that people kind of get sucked up into it.
Yeah, I think it is sad, but a lot of us fall into it. If you just started trading, if you're a new trader, you've ever gone to YouTube and you type in trading strategies or whatever, and the first things that will always usually come up, here's my how to make 10K a day strategy or how to do this, and it's very like clickbait stuff where the thumbnails, have big colors and big pictures, but it's just marketing and it's I guess it's normal. It happens in probably every industry and it probably won't change. And I guess with our industry in general, it's a thing where people have to get past that. It might take like a year, it might take a few months, and then genuinely start to see what trading is and really actually get onto the things that matter and start learning from the correct people is I guess it's just part of the process, right?
Oh, without a doubt, man. You nailed on the head. And that's why I think the learning curve is a little bit longer, because you have to kind of be lucky to get into to learn from someone from the jump that
Yeah,
is actually legit. You know what I mean? Because how many times, and that's the thing, like multiple people are going to buy multiple courses throughout their time, right? That's very, very normal. But if someone could like buy courses from multiple, and all those people were actually profitable and actually teaching stuff that they use in the markets that work, I think that learning curve gets cut down so significantly. But like, unfortunately, someone might join. Let's say, I'm not gonna name any names, but let's just say someone on Instagram who's flexing all these cars and this luxury lifestyle, who may be potentially faking results. That person's gonna learn from that person, and then they're gonna learn a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily work. Then they're gonna learn from the next guy who's also flexing of stuff that's not gonna work. And then, you see what I'm saying? So then they kind of have to go through that process. And sometimes people just quit because they're like, you know what, screw this, you know what I mean? Like this, I'm losing a lot of money. I'm spending money on all these courses. I'm not making it work, you know what I mean? And then some people get filtered out, you know, so it's unfortunate, but that is unfortunately that's the sad reality.
Yeah. This reminds me, I used to when I first got into Forex, I was in a Signals group chat, and this was on Telegram. So this group was called Capital FX, something along those lines. And they used to post really good results, right? And I didn't know you can edit messages on Telegram. And of course I was younger and I was new. And I I would, of course, I'd over risk. I'd risk probably something like 20% of the count on a trade. And
Yeah.
but it wasn't massive amounts anyways that I was playing with. But I used to take signals and they'd put in, for example, something like EU buy. And I've bought EU and I've lost about 20% of my account. And I've gone back end of the day and they've said the trade is like in profit 40 pips, 50 pips. And after being in there for I think just over a month, I realized if a trade doesn't go their way, they literally used to change the sell to a buy and like edit the text and the numbers and so forth. And when I realized that, after that, I think I bought probably one signal service. I also got, that didn't go well. And then after that, I just vouched to never ever, just join any signal services. I think most of the time, there's that age-old argument of um if your trading is profitable, why do you need to kind of, sell a signal service? But then for the person providing signals, it's that argument of if I'm going to get paid extra for taking the trades that I'm taking anyways, why not do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Dude.
it's
Yeah.
both, both sides to the coin. I think it is quite fair. I think more so the trader's argument makes sense. The sad reality is that there's not a lot of traders that are actually doing it correctly and providing. So in your academy, do you do signals or is it just purely education?
No, so with my academy, the way I have it structured, right? Because
Yeah,
I don't think that people are gonna like in terms of like what's best for the student, right? I don't think people are gonna watch a course and then become profitable. I think they also like for like and the perfect example is like when I was talking to you about how ICT had those weekly commentaries breaking down stuff that was happening in the markets, right? And what he wants to see and like what he's expecting and breaking it down. So what I do, I have my academy, which is all the course content with all my strategies and stuff like that, that I used to trade and all the concepts that I use. And then on top of that, it's a private Discord where I have multiple channels where people can kind of talk about forex, indices, whatever they want to do, crypto, and also a section where I post my chart breakdowns, where I pretty much just post like if I see something during the week or a big picture time frame play, I'll post it in there. So it's not signals, it's just kind of helping people. It's like a helping hand with the framework because I've already been posting all my like trade analysis from my public telegram. So now I just focus it on my Discord. And then also in the beginning of every single week, like on around like Saturday, Sunday, I'll have like a weekly outlook video for everyone that's going to be in like on the website. And it's pretty much me breaking down what I'm watching for the week, and like kind of breaking out some very similar to kind of how like ICT had it, because that's how I personally learned a lot, because it was because when you're applying all the concepts right on the market that's currently happening and what you're looking for price to come to this level, to go to that level, what you want to see at these levels, right? Then it just helps in terms of the learning curve. And also I have like weekly Zoom sessions with them every like Saturday or Sunday, where like I pretty much answer Q. Yeah, man, like the academy is like a full is genuinely an academy.
yeah, yeah.
It's not just like, oh yeah, you buy the course and then you're kind of left on your own to kind of fend for yourself. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm. My mentor does something similar, and you're right. So he does weekly commentaries as well, and I think, initially I remember when he started, he used to tell us that this is what's going to essentially help your trading more so than anything. And I didn't really listen. I was also one of those people that thought, oh, if I learn what every order block does, rejection blocks do, and blah, blah, I'm going to instantly be able to trade. And watching the weekly commentaries over time is actually what, shaped my trading. What I used to do, so if anyone's listening, you're in a similar position. So of course, he'd drop his weekly commentaries, but before I ever watched his videos, what I started doing was doing my own outlooks and then watching his video and seeing, what's different. If I'd done something wrong or why is he saying X, Y, Z, and I might be seeing something different. And once I got to the stage where I was consistently picking up the same things that he's picking out, is when I realized, like, now everything's kind of sticking together, it's starting to make sense. So definitely, I think most new traders would probably overlook that, and they wouldn't be as interesting. I think it makes sense, right? A lot of people do want to get straight to the concepts and understand the tools that we use in trading, but actually being able to piece it together and building that narrative and framework for price is what trading really is. And even you providing that direction or providing that bias is really a signal if your students know how to use it. But yeah, I think it's really the perfect way to teach.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you nailed it on the head, man. It's just because well, this is the thing. First off, right? When those weekly outlooks, like they is when you see the person breaking it down, and a lot of times the exact same thing happens in the market, it builds the student's confidence as well. Like, all right, you know what, this stuff is legit. He's breaking it down beforehand, and like you said, it's somewhat like a signal. Like, all right, I'm anticipating price to go here. I've had members who passed challenges off some of the analysis that I've posted, right?
Yeah,
Because then they use like the stuff that I use to enter the market. So within the academy, there's like a whole section on how I enter at specific levels. So
yeah,
it's up to them to go through the content. Like if they're genuinely going through the content properly and they're taking their time to actually like digest the content, they're coming into the weekly Zoom sessions to ask Q and A's, like my Q and A sessions. Then there shouldn't be any issue, in my opinion, to kind of figure out the tricks for yourself. And that's what I ultimately want people to do. Plus, the thing is with signals, man, I'll be honest with you. I don't like if I had the confidence to do signals, I'm actually might like you know what I mean. But I just don't like the stress of having every single because you know how people are, bro. You know how people are gonna be over leveraging.
yeah.
You can go through two losses in a row, right? If I go through two losses in a row, and nobody knows, I'm perfectly fine. My mental state is fine. I'm not scared to take the third trade. I'm not scared to like trade. But then the problem is when you're taking losses, like let's say you took two losses in a row and everyone's watching you, it adds so much pressure to the signal provider.
Yeah.
And then, you might start forcing trades. You might be like not calling trades that might end up working because, you just don't want to post another loser. And then you start to overthink it. You know what I mean?
Mm,
But
mm.
again, and like with signals, like most people, I just think signals is like a big disservice to people who actually want to learn too, because it's like at the end of the day, these people like they're not learning the skill set. They're just going to be kind of like depending on one person. If that person, you know what I mean, just wants to stop it one day, then their income source is going to essentially stop, assuming the signal provider was a good one. So yeah, I just think, but also I think most people who join like they all want to learn. That's something that I like about my community is like a lot of people who come through the academy, they actually genuinely want to learn. Like, all right, how's this guy calling these trades? What's his insight on like, all right, how's he seeing it? How come he's able to get like that entry? How's he doing this? I like that because then it kind of creates that back and forth dialogue with the members where we're kind of discussing, all right, like I focus on this particular swing because of XYZ, you know what I mean? I think it's a better it's really honestly a better way for people to learn, in my opinion, where you go through weekly commentary, you don't provide any signals, but like you said, it's kind of like a helping hand. Like, all right, well, I'm watching for buys at this level, then you guys kind of have to put yourself inside of the market. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And if you do provide signals and they're good signals, it can lead to complacency. Somebody may join, just to learn. Then now they get signals, and if the signals are good and they're making money off them, or they're passing challenges off of them, they're just gonna think, what's the point learning? They're not really gonna, stick to it. And it's just how it is. It's human nature. Nobody actually, well, I guess most people would not want to work harder than they really need to. And I guess, yeah, it just makes sense to not provide them. And another thing you touched on, how, if you take two losses in a row, people are just waiting for your next move and seeing, is the next one going to be a loss or win? Because
Yeah.
you could take two losses and lose 2%, and they're not going to say it, but somebody in your group chat could have lost 20% because they're definitely over leveraging, most, especially
100.
if they're new traders. So it's not a fun game, especially if you know that in your head. If you take that third loss, they're going to start making burner accounts on Twitter trying to witch hunt you. So especially
Yeah,
it's,
bro. And it's like you don't need that, man. Like, and plus, bro, again, like if you're this is the thing, right?
mm,
I don't want to put myself in a situation where like mentally I'm like I just destroy my psychology because then I won't be able to trade properly because and that's what people don't realize. Like with signals, right? You can think like, you know what, I'm really good at trading, but then sometimes it doesn't translate well to signals because you might not have the psychological like thick skin it takes to like endure losses in front of other people and taking criticism from others. And this is what people don't realize, right? Who want to start signal services, you will 1000% go through a losing streak at some point. Not because like you suck, but like, dude, every single trader is going to go through somewhat of a rough period. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed,
Yeah.
right? So you don't want to go through your drawn out period in front of other people who are paying customers or taking your trades. And then it becomes this shit show where like people are like, yeah, like you said, they might be making burner accounts on Twitter. They might start talking, bad about you and stuff like that. And then now it gets in your head, and now you're starting to doubt yourself as a trader. And then the rabbit hole continues, and then you're gonna go down this spiral, the spiraling effect, man, and it could really affect your overall trading. And I personally don't want to do that. It's just I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. And yeah, again, I'd rather have the person who wants to come in, learn, and get better. And then yeah, and again, I don't mind posting analysis and stuff like that, and specific trade ideas, but I'm not there to handhold anyone
Yeah.
with entry, ops, targets. You know what I mean? And then look, for people who are willing to do that, man, especially if they do it well and they're not doing any shady stuff like the guy that you were talking about who's
Yeah.
editing the signals, right? But if they're doing it well, man, like props to them, and they definitely deserve to get paid because it is not easy. It is not easy to post your trades with a bunch of people watching you, especially if you have a very big following.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So, okay, cool. So moving on from that, you mentioned, you're a bit on and off with Bitcoin and stuff. So have you ever actually, been into trading crypto spot futures, all of that stuff?
Yeah, no. So I was like during the bull market, I was definitely big on crypto
Yeah.
because obviously like it was so easy, dude. Like you just buy anything that was consolidating and it will eventually break out. And all
Yeah.
you had to do is kind of just follow specific people on Twitter, right? Where they're engaged in the markets. They know what's hype. Like for example, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with crypto in the sense of like different industries like
Yeah.
DeFi, gaming. So
Yeah.
like when gaming was going off last year, dude, I was just buying any gaming coin from this YouTube channel and like it would go up 3x, 4x.
Mhm.
And then obviously when the market reversed, I lost a good amount of the money that I made, but I still ended up profitable last year on crypto. And yeah, and now I'm kind of just waiting for the bull market, to be honest, to trade spot. But I'll trade Bitcoin on like leverage on like FX, like because again, it's the same technicals, same stuff that I'm pretty much using on FX. I just like Bitcoin. I don't know. I think I just like being around the crypto markets. That's probably why I always still check Bitcoin every now and then,
Mm.
in terms of trading. Because again, like I want to be around the crypto market. Because again, when the bull market starts, right? If the bull market happens, I want to be there early. I want to be there, kind of like taking advantage. Because last year I kind of came in a little bit late, still able to do well. But man, I'm telling you, like when crypto bull market is there, I think like it's the easiest market to trade. Obviously, like I feel like once regulations come in though, it might kill the volatility. But in the meantime, I mean, like when the bull markets are there, man, it's up to us as traders to kind of take advantage, do our research, kind of see which coins are going to be moving, which industry is hot, because again, like you can make 4 to 5x on your money, not even trading leverage. You throw in $10,000 on a coin, you can make that that 10,000 turns to 50 grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
And then the
crazy.
amount of stuff that you can do with that, it's just crazy because I've seen people flip $20,000 to over $250,000. You know what I mean? Just trading spot, no leverage. You don't have to worry about getting wiped out with leverage, and yeah.
Yeah, people made stupid money off crypto, especially in the last bull run. So, do you think do you think for Bitcoin we've seen the bottom, or where do you think the bottom will be?
I don't honestly. Let me look at the chart right now. I'm actually have a Bitcoin chart. I actually don't think we're like done dropping, to be honest.
Yeah,
A
same.
big, I think maybe like I think a potential bottom, to be honest. Like if you look at the monthly chart, like I would not be shocked if we got squeezed to like 35K, 36K,
Yeah,
and then we kind of come all the way back down to like $10,000, $8,000. So maybe around the $8,000 range. Because I
yeah,
do I do think we're due for a very big squeeze. Because the one thing about Bitcoin that people don't realize is Bitcoin will have some sort of significant squeeze, even in bear markets. So I could see $36,000, 37 near term. And then if we reject there, right, then we're possibly talking about like $9,400.
mm,
Um, yeah, around maybe like under 10 grand. So we'll see.
yeah.
I don't think the
That's
bottom's in though.
Yeah,
I feel like
yes,
it'll
yeah.
take a little bit of time for the bottom to settle in.
Yeah, we definitely need to see, some consolidation there. That's what I've been telling my group chat as well. One thing that I've been picking up on, so next month in August, I think it'll be a bullish month. There's no interest rate hikes to my knowledge, and I think that might give Bitcoin a bit of time to breathe, get a bit of relief, and I think if we break 30K, all of retail, they're just going to be sitting there thinking the bull runs back on. And just as they start getting happy, it's a constant cycle with crypto because I remember I was a proper noob. I was one of those, accounts on Twitter with like 5 followers, just following all the big accounts, watching everyone's predictions, like the Moon Call, the big accounts, and they're always wrong. And it must have been December times. I thought Bitcoin's going to I thought there was this guy called Tech Dev, you might know, and he was posting some very interesting analysis, and he was saying Bitcoin to 250K, 270 based on this data, this data. I believed everything. I just full ported different coins, and yeah, it was just a shit show. And yeah, it just wasn't funny, but.
Yeah, man.
Mm. But yeah, cool. One thing I wanted to touch on, so this is an interesting topic. I saw you tweet about this, right, recently. You tweeted that traders shouldn't have partners. So what's the what's the whole thing behind that?
Well, no, so it wasn't that they shouldn't have partners. They got to make sure that their partner isn't someone who's like constantly nagging, and they
Yeah,
kind of understand what that individual goes through, right? And the reason why I say this personally is just like I don't like. Can you imagine if you have someone who's like a significant other who, as soon as you start like talking to, like, imagine having a bad trading day, right? Like you just went through a bad session, whatever, you're a little bit stressed out, and then this person is nagging you about like, oh yeah, about stuff that you gotta do around the house or do this, you gotta do that. It just at some point, dude, it just becomes too much, you know what I mean? And then it might boil over to your trading. And that's what people don't realize. Real life environment is going to impact your trading. If you're in a toxic environment at your home, and again, it doesn't even have to be with a significant other, but it could just be like, family that you might be living with that's toxic or whatever. Like it's going to ultimately, it's all going to affect your trading, man. It genuinely is going to affect your trading because you're not going to be in the proper mindset to execute. You might be stressed out already from trading, and then on top of that, if you're going through a rough period in trading, and then you have like a significant other or a toxic family member who's constantly trying to like talk bad about you, or who's constantly nagging you and telling you, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and you're just trying to lock in and focus. Like that is very distracting. And I think that's the biggest reason why people have to be careful of who they keep around, right? Not again, not just a significant other, but like friends, family that are toxic into like their specific goals, because if you have toxicity around you, right? And I had this because I like my parents were always like against me like trading, and I understand
yeah,
why, because like they, they they don't really know what you know in the sense of like what trading really is. But when
mm,
they think about like you trying to make a living from like trading stocks, trading forex, they're going to be a little bit concerned, as they should be. But then it comes to a point where like if they're starting to like sound like, oh yeah, what are you doing? Like this is not working, blah blah blah. It starts to affect you, and now psychologically you're thinking, all right, I gotta maybe like push on this next trade so I can prove to them. You know what I mean? And then now you're not even trading to execute. You're trading to try to prove a point. And then that
yeah,
becomes very bad because then we become focused on the outcome versus the task, right? And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you've like listened to different psychologists who talk about trading performance and even like athletic performance. They always talk about having like this task oriented mindset where you focus strictly on just execution, on journaling, on executing your setup, and the outcome is you do not focus on the outcome, because again, you could take a good trade and it could be a loss, but if you're so focused on the outcome, then you're going to start to think that you did something wrong. You're going to have this bad psychology because you're going to be annoyed because the trade was a loss. But in the reality, in terms of all your tasks and execution, you did everything right. But at the same time, you can take a trade and it makes money, and you did something really dumb. Like let's say you remove your stop loss and then you start to average down, which was not part of your original execution strategy. But because it was a winner, you get that little dopamine hit, and then you start to do that bad habit again because you're associating
yeah,
that profitable P&L with that negative execution. You know what I mean? And that's a very dangerous spiral to go on, because that happened to me in 2019 when I was making some money but I was doing a lot of bad stuff, but I was creating really bad habits, and I was so focused on the
mm,
profitable P&L that my mind was associating the P&L with the bad habits I was creating. And then it becomes this little psychological warfare, man. And then you have to kill that bad habit, and it takes time to kill bad habits.
yeah,
So yeah, man, I would just tell people in general, going back to your original question about like keeping a toxic person around, you don't really understand until you get a little bit more advanced into the game how a specific person who's around you who's negative in terms of like your trading and causing you stress and stuff like that, how that person can actually impact you on your trading subconsciously. Like people don't resonate with that until and sometimes they don't, even some people who are not like necessarily super aware or super reflective of like their own thoughts. Some people like will go through like trading and they'll be stressed out, and then they have a nagging partner and they might not even realize that that nagging partner may have some sort of impact on them executing bad, you know.
yeah. And do you know what it is, right? I think with trading, us as traders, we can generally talk about how hard trading is psychologically and emotionally and mentally. Because if you talk about this stuff to the average person, a person who isn't into trading at all, they're gonna find it very cliche. They're gonna find it kind of cringe and it's just charts and numbers. Like how can you be emotional over charts and numbers? But unless you've actually been there and you've been a trader and you've been in those trades, you can't describe that feeling to other people. Trading is a game that genuinely you have to like, as kind of cringe and wishy-washy it is, you have to like look within yourself and really kind of shift lots of habits and like thoughts and mindset that you have. Otherwise it's very, very hard to be a profitable trader until you can do those things and build that discipline. So yeah, definitely it does matter who you keep around. So like you said, you started trading because of a friend. So do you still work with that friend, trade with him?
Uh, I'm sorry, which friend?
So initially you said one of your friends put you onto I think it was equities, and then
Oh
was it the
yeah.
same person who told you about Forex, or was that
No, no.
someone
So the
else?
person with the equity is my roommate and like one of my best friends.
Yeah.
He actually just got back into trading. He actually got
Mm,
into my academy and he was like, bro, let's get it. He took a big hiatus from trading, but
yeah.
he's finally got back into it. But I would But the person that put me onto Forex, he was a futures trader.
Yeah.
And honestly, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know if he's still trading. I haven't He's in a group chat with us, but he hasn't really been in active that active in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of been all social media, so I don't know. Last I've heard from him, he was like working on like he was working on like a side business as well. Like so honestly, I think
Mhm.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, I would not be shocked, man. People don't understand that this game, you could be profitable for years, man, and then it could just kind of stop one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because let's say your psychology is ruined, or like you just don't take the game as serious. So I would not be shocked if he kind of just took a step back from trading, to be honest, because I
Mhm.
haven't spoken to him in like months.
Yeah.
From last year, he was still trading. Now I'm not sure. I haven't really spoken to him that much this year, so I would not be shocked, man.
Mm, mm. And one more thing I found quite interesting. So with your parents, of course, as most parents would see it, they don't think trading is a good thing. They probably think it's gambling. So at what point did your parents kind of like make that switch, or if they've made that switch over to being like, okay, this actually works, and they're kind of like happy with it?
Yeah, no, even to this day, man, they still don't. Well, I'll say this: because my dad's like he's entrepreneurial as well. So it's like after he started seeing the results, and like when I showed him like specific withdrawals, and like showed him like the money actually in my bank account, like it's not fake. Like that's when he started realizing, like, okay, you know what, this like he's actually doing well for himself. He's able to actually make, because that's what people don't realize too with these funded accounts, man. Yo, dude, you can make a full-time salary or income when you have multiple funded accounts in legit like a month or two. And then I'm not saying you could like start chilling after that, right? Because obviously, like you always want to kind of try to push yourself and try to get, try to like be better. But like people don't realize if you make, let's say, for example, let's just say like okay, for example, right? Like throughout like the last starting from like December up until June, I believe it was, I crossed that six-figure mark within a 6 month, 6 to 7 month period, right? Profit. So if I wanted to theoretically, right? If I want to chill, I'm someone who's like, let's say, low maintenance. I don't really spend that much money. My bills are low. I could live off of that money for the rest of the year if I did absolutely nothing, right? I'm not saying
Mhm.
I'm going to do that, but I'm just saying hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of traders got to realize, like, dude, this game is so. I know I'm going off like a little bit of a tangent, but it's just like, it's just crazy to think that, like, in this game, you can make like salaries in a month. I've seen people, and I've done it myself, where you make like, 20, 30 grand in a specific month. And like, dude, for some people, they work a whole year for that, you know? And I think we traders sometimes take it for granted. But I think once my dad saw the money coming in, and I started showing him the P&Ls, and I started showing him the withdrawals hitting my bank account, that's kind of when he's like, all right, you know what? Like, he obviously knows what he's doing. He's still a little bit like cautious because obviously it's the markets, and it's not quote unquote guaranteed, right? Like a traditional job is. But yeah, but my mom is still like a little bit paranoid. But I mean,
Mhm.
I understand like where they're coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, it's it's with the right intentions. They're most parents, they're just stressed. They want you to like have that degree and have that future. But we know what trading can do, as you said. Like the amount of money is crazy and really and truly is exponential. Especially with some of my friends that have started, they're complete beginners. That's what I told them. The further that time goes on, realistically, you're gonna learn more and make more, and it's just gonna keep growing that way. And like I don't know how true this is, but once I saw a TikTok and somebody got private funding and they said right off the bat they gave him 2% of the account size as kind of like a sign-on fee or something. I was just thinking like
Yeah.
in trading, of course, as individual traders, you might not have a lot of money. Even in my eyes personally, I think saying you have 1 million to trade with, of course, in the grand scheme of things to the average person, that's an insane amount of money. That is crazy money. You can be set for the rest of your life if you wanted to. But in the trading world, in the forex markets, that's like a drop in the ocean, if that. So the opportunities out there, they're endless. It is crazy. But one last thing I want to touch on before we wrap it up, right? A lot of traders, so of course you've been trading for a while and you've had to build your like good habits, break down your bad habits. And a lot of traders kind of do things in the sense of, gym. And I see a lot of traders also say they meditate and stuff like that. Do you like have any habits or something you'd recommend to people to like kind of pick up to aid with that psychological side?
Yeah, man. Honestly, I think like taking care of your health is super important. Like I can tell, and again, I honestly don't think it's just me. I think everyone out there, if they're being honest with themselves, I feel like if you're someone who doesn't work out, right, or let's just say you are someone who works out but you've been slacking, I honestly believe that if you have a good gym routine, good diet plan in place, you are going to execute so much better because you're not going to have that brain fog. You're not going to have all those parasites in your gut that are possibly going to, like, affect the way that you think. And I know some people who are not familiar with it, they're not going to understand what I'm talking about. But if you're really into like health and stuff like that, you'll realize like a lot of garbage that we put in ourselves, it's going to affect how you ultimately think, and you're going to have like this cloud of judgment. You might have these insecurities, you might have low confidence. So I genuinely believe that, especially as traders, especially as people who are performers, right? Because essentially the way I view traders is like we are kind of like performance athletes, right? We're not doing physical work, but we're doing mental gymnastics, we're doing mental work. So I think that people have to take their health into consideration. Make sure to, like, hit the gym or get a workout in. It doesn't have to be the gym, right? Like if you like biking, if you like going on walks, if you like running, right? If you like combat sports, whatever it is, right? Or let's say you like playing basketball, whatever it is, man, just be active and have a good diet, man. Because for me personally, when I deviate from, like, if I take a week off from the gym, right? Because let's say I'm just busy, I don't necessarily have time, right? Um, or let's just say I'm just being lazy, right? Because I feel like we can always make time for those things. And I'm not eating well. Like, let's say I'm ordering out for dinner and stuff like that. Even though I try to keep it like somewhat healthy when I'm ordering out, but let's just say, like, you know that they're putting specific oils in your food. Like, dude, I just could tell a big difference when it comes to my execution and my focus, because and my confidence levels. I feel like when I have a routine of where I'm staying disciplined outside the markets, right? Where I'm going to the gym every single morning or every afternoon. I'm going to I'm making sure I'm eating, a good healthy diet where I'm getting all my nutrients in, and I'm doing everything that I need to outside of the markets. I typically perform much, much better. I feel like I can see like almost like the Matrix when I'm really
Yeah.
zoned in on stuff outside the markets, And I think anyone who works out or who has a healthy diet or who takes their self care like really seriously, I'm pretty sure they can also attest to that as well, where they have better performances, they have better they can just their focus is much better when everything outside of trading in terms of their health and wellness is taken care of. So I think that's the biggest thing I would suggest to traders because from my personal experience, it's helped me. And every time I deviate from it, I always see it really does affect my performance.
Yeah, yeah, and I always touch on gym on the podcast and doing exercise and whatnot, but food itself is also a massive thing, and you, anyone listening, you should do your own research on this, right? But the food you eat, when it goes to your gut, it can impact so many other things, things you're not even, thinking of sometimes. For some people, if you're eating oily food, it can give you, bad skin. You can get spots and stuff like that. It can affect your sleep. And, there's just so many different things. So keeping it clean, keeping it consistent, it is a game changer. Of course, it's hard. Nobody likes to do it, but it's a bit of a sacrifice, and most of the time you will feel better if you kind of take these habits and adapt them and stick to them. And let's say you do it for 3 4 months, right? Most of the time what people will realize, if you stick to these good habits of working out and eating clean, if you ever fall into that trap of eating bad and not going gym, you actually feel worse off, and eventually you just come back on and start sticking to the good things. But yeah, that was a very good point to make. But it's been a pleasure having you on today, bro. Think this has been a great episode. There's a lot to take away for everyone, and I really hope you enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, man, I had a blast. Again, I told you, man, before the podcast started, I love connecting with other traders. Yeah, man, I could talk about trading forever, to be honest. It's a big part of my life. It's a big part of your life, you know.
Yeah,
And yeah, man, every trader can definitely resonate with that.
yeah, man, and yeah, I could definitely tell you're passionate about trading. But yeah, that was a great episode. And I've got some very interesting guests lined up for the rest of the season. So everyone listening, stay tuned. If you look at the description on YouTube, I'm gonna drop Omar's Train and Trade Academy link, his Twitter, and his YouTube link, so you can go check all of that stuff out. And yeah, it's just been great having you on, bro. And I'll keep in touch. Have a good day.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Definitely message me whenever you feel like it.